Hello.
Hello, Glenn.
Hi.
What's going on?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Working the farm. It's Canada Day, don't you know? It's our birthday. 142 years, I think they said.
How are you?
1867.
I'm not really, I'm not really like educated on really like the history of Canada. I know a little bit from, growing up and stuff.
The most important place in the whole world. You're going to have to modify your priorities.
Yeah. Yeah, most people. That's funny. Is most people don't. When I tell people that Canada has the most natural resources in the world, and they look at me like, no.
Yeah.
I guess because it's not talked about in the media.
Well, I mean, other countries that come close to us in size have at least 10 times our population. Whether it be Russia or the United States or China or India, anybody that comes even close has populations way, way bigger. We're a caretaker of the resources country for future use in a new world order.
And that picture that you have, it's like when it shows Noah's Ark, and that's going to be like the new world order,
that's the operation on the Cap continent at the northern end of the planet.
Yeah. And they're still going to be operating underground, those people, right? They're never going to,
Well, they have no reason to come out, except they may be shipped out by their own computers.
Yeah. So, when...
I suspect that, for initiation purposes into some level of secret society, they may make an appearance type of thing, so that a person goes back saying, "Ooh, I saw an alien."
Oh, that was God. Yeah. That was God. Yeah. Oh, man. So, even if, if they found other rocks in the universe, in outer space, to live on, they wouldn't leave, you think, and go there? Because that's what they have. They have this new slave force that they're building.
Yeah, if they still are the way they were, they would be basically limited in their mobility.
Yeah.
So a place like the Moho discontinuity would basically serve their needs, along with slaves, Cro-Magnon type slaves doing their bidding. There really is no place else to go.
Yeah, what color was Cro-Magnon?
From what I can tell, in anything that I've written, that I've seen written, they would be something like off-white to light brown. Probably close to what we would consider mulatto to be.
Oh.
But they were apparently noted for very thick and high eyebrows, like having almost a bar across the forehead.
Yeah. There are some people who have that, especially from certain countries. I noticed that. Maybe that could be from that, you think, or?
Yeah. I suspect it has something to do with where they were raised and I'm not quite sure what the conditions would have to be for such a highbrow to develop. They were not always invalid. Something happened along the way, and the only reasonable suggestion is that they were frozen in time. They were frozen instantaneously and spent a long time on one topic. Whatever it was that they were involved in at the moment of freezing became the computer in their brain was caught kind of like on a loop, and it kept reviewing the same information over and over again and getting information from the spine on the background of what they were thinking. And if that activity proceeded for a long, long time before they were revived, it would explain how you make an idiot savant. It would have basically surveyed and studied one topic from beginning to end. Anything that could be learned about that one topic would be the thing they are stuck on. And then nothing else comes into play, so they are basically handicapped in other things. That's my conclusion from the total evidence that I've read or had transmitted to me.
So I know it's like you were saying with the intuition and have you ever like found out or have any clues to figure out like what the beard could be, the hair that grows around your face, that could be, what purpose that serves? Or?
Well, what I suggest is that all hair is sensory, but that different hair would be like on different wavelengths. And therefore, the communications of information in a sensory manner, as you think of with cats and whiskers, that kind of sensory information would be different with each type of hair, whether it's on the head or on the chin or on the rest of the body. It would, each type of hair. So it's a little bit like AM or FM radio.
Yeah.
You know, each time you change stations, you get a different programming, and I suggest that's the same kind of thing with hair.
Yeah, because I've noticed, like I cut my beard, cut it down a whole lot, and I don't know, maybe I'm bugging out, or I don't know, but I somehow I think I feel different, or like something's not right. I don't know. But
well,
it could be in my mind.
Certainly, your sensory capabilities would have changed. Why they allow Muslims, for example, in the Middle East and Asia, to wear long beards, and they basically insist upon it, and yet they make them cover their head under a wrapper, must have something to do with which part of the information the sensory cells are tuned into. the fact that the beard also grows down the front, where the hair grows down the back, closer to the spine, might have something to do with it. That if it comes through the hair at the back, it would be uncensored, so to speak. Whereas if it has to come through the entire body, front of the body to get into the head, it might be less in its ability to communicate.
So even so what do you think something like armpit hair, pubic hair, stuff like this? Because this is stuff like.
Well, people talk about a gut feeling, and that would suggest that their sensory capabilities are coming from the front, whereas intuition basically comes from the spine and would be coming to the head. In normal fashion, it would make the journey through the neck to the mammal brain, the animal brain that we have at the top of the spine. But because of medication given to women in their pregnancy and other genetic engineering capabilities, it's been limited in recent years, and the only access seems to be from hair.
Yeah, you remind me. I remember reading an article a while back that women. They said that women, like, they can smell. There's a certain smell of men that they can.
Yeah.
It makes them determine if this person is right. But when they take birth control, it makes it all out of whack.
Yeah. Well, we're all animals, and the scent of people, musk is what they call it in many animals, is important. It sends out signals, and persons are either turned on or turned off by the scent they get.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I was talking to this with Dana, and he told me we were discussing dolphins, how we were talking like mental telepathy, like how animals seem to have that. Because I went to a pet store the other day and I think it's called a knifefish, something like that, and I was looking at it through the glass tank, and it swam up to and looked at me and just was staring, and just swam up to the front of the tank and looked at me. I don't know. I felt like maybe there could have been some type of connection. I don't know.
Well, I used to have a aquarium in my house, and had a number of fish in there, and I'd sit there at night, kind of looking in their direction, and there seemed to almost be like a chorus line of fish that would come and all park side by side, swimming on the spot, looking out at me. So
it's pretty.
You never know.
Yeah, it's pretty. I've heard there's even species of animals in the sea we haven't, I don't know, to the publicly at least, been discovered. There's probably so many animals out there with so many. I know when you look at the animals, they make up, like you said, things that like intelligence, I guess you say. They make up for it in other ways. Well, what did you learn? Have you learned anything new, on your farm with the animals? Or?
Well, I'm looking at each species and getting a sense of their general purpose, what they basically think that life is all about. But I'm noticing more and more that within each species, many animals, most animals, have personalities that are different, one from the other. How some are more skittish than others, and yet the conditions they were raised in were pretty close to the same thing. So there has to be some memory that fight or flight concept has been taken in differently in the past by recessive genes that may not be visible all the time, but are there in background.
You think there'd be anything to learn from insects?
Well, certainly the ants and the bees are the most interesting of the smaller species because of their the way they go about doing their thing. And of course, in a coming pseudo-hermaphrodite, the male task will be limited to infrastructure, the size and shape of the body, but it's only active participation in the body will be the same as a drone in a beehive.
Now, you look at the ants. I remember, I've done little experiments. When I was younger, I used to see it. Notice this. I would have a popsicle or something thick. I'd leave it on the windowsill, and an little ant would come, and then before you know it, a whole swarm of them would be there. So did they communicate with those antennas?
Yeah, they I suspect communicate with in more than one way. One is scent. They leave a scent behind as they travel, which tells them a little bit about how to get back to where they came from. And it gives a trail for other bees looking for them to follow as well. So they, the basic thesis of this planet is that it could survive and prosper without human beings. Yeah. But it could not survive without ants.
Why do you say that?
Because they're garbage collectors. They're the recyclers of the planet. The planet is a self-sustaining thing, and it requires a lot of recycling, especially of dead cells. And ants take care of that all the time. You can't leave anything on the ground and come back a month or two later and see it still there. It will all have been carried away piece by piece.
So what type of, when you look at a cockroach, what kind of, because I know they can survive, almost.
Yeah, they seem to have been able to survive almost anything. And it's interesting that it's cockroach starts with the same as Caucasian.
Yeah.
So
it must be a link.
Probably has a different brain. A brain that, it doesn't have a brain. It probably has a different sensory mechanism that would be closer to RAM memory, read-only, or random access memory, than read-only. They seem to be able to invent ways of escape and stuff like that on the spot, whereas other things like ants, for example, would have to be following a very specific program.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you too, the whole thing when the whole thing with Michael Jackson, and everybody kept talking about it. But I when I heard that he died, I just figured, they didn't need him anymore. They just
I think they needed him more as a landmark or a benchmark along a certain period of time, because he basically is on the schedule for the destruction of the Northern Hemisphere, and he happens to die at exactly the middle point of the last 100 years.
So, do you think that was natural?
No.
Oh. All right.
And I don't think you can count on any autopsy to be revealed, to tell the truth about exactly what killed him, any more than you could with what's that blonde that had the little girl there.
Oh, Anna Nicole Smith?
Yeah, Anna Nicole Smith. I mean, in that case, we saw the mortician and the coroner, and if anybody had faith in what those people would say, they need their heads examined. Were obviously chosen for that task. The location was chosen with the Hard Rock Cafe in Florida, and the Seminole Indian tribe, which right away Semi tells you media. They are on side with the system of reporting false news.
Oh, okay. So that's why they call it them Semites, because
Semites. They're middlemen who receive information and change it around and send it out for the purpose of misleading people.
Yeah. So, like people like Levites, what was that all about?
Levite means rising. Cleveland means rising. There was a volcano eruption this year in a volcano called Cleveland. Happens to be in the Aleutian Islands. It's part of U.S. control. And I suspect that much of the activity we're about to face with the Great Lakes region will involve a rising, because as you send some things underwater below sea level, the laws of physics say you have to compensate by lifting something else. And the most likely thing they're talking about is the Canadian Shield, which is below ground, a rock structure below ground, which will rise as the moat is created to soak everybody that is not protected by the Canadian Shield.
Now, do they show this plan like in the zodiac?
Well, they would use the moment in time by attaching it to the moment in a precession, so that they could then educate certain people on a need-to-know basis what to expect when certain star formations exist. And I'm certain that this period in time, which is known to some people as Aquarius, water bearer, or water being conducted in a controlled manner, will in fact have its event in the stars. Now, we know that we're expecting the destruction of the Big Dipper, because the Big Dipper is an assembly of a number of stars, two of which fly in the opposite direction from the others. So within a precession, they only come together at a certain point, make the outline of a Big Dipper, and travel through time past that point. The stars are always continuing on their journey, and therefore you get what appears to be a destruction of the Big Dipper, turning over control basically to the Little Dipper.
Yeah, I've been coming across like things like in the Masonic books, like they keep bringing up in this part, in this particular degree, they keep bringing up like certain procession, solstices and stuff like that, and they keep. But I noticed like they said something about Aries, and how Aries, it comes when the sun's right. When the sun is in Aries, it was in a time of like, I guess like a springtime when life became like regenerated. But I don't know. I'm just why I know what's the importance of Aries? 'Cause I see it in
it has IRS in it, so they would consider that important, that the toll gators have taken control of the end times of the world. A&E basically suggests more the end times than OE, which suggests the beginning of time.
Oh, okay.
So, but the important part is IRS in there, and you got Sri Lanka, and you got
I
Krishna.
see it in so many words I come across. Like now, when I see it in the word, I take like a step back, and it makes me think about it. Yeah.
And right now we're at the time of the bag ladies and bag men, which, by the way, in their meaning in our world is the opposite. A bag man is a distributor of money within the political realm, and a bag lady is a person with no place of abode, no home. So one's basically rich and the other one is poor. But that entire period of bag, which is linked in the French language to the word sac, S-A-C, is linked to Cassiopeia, a set of stars in the sky, and sometimes referred to as Mama Cass.
Mama Cass.
And it is seen in the sky as a kind of a screwy letter M. And at sometimes it flips over and appears as a big W. Now, within the context of those stars, there are markers for our time. And part of that is something called Sagan, like Carl Sagan. It is linked to the moment in time we're living. It's described basically as the foot, which puts it close to the soul or near the boss. And that was my mother's family name. So
it's Saigon, you said? You missed S-A-I-G?
S-E-G-I-N.
Oh, okay. I see. Oh.
And my mother's name was S-E-G-U-I-N. Grace was her first name, which is another hint of the G race. And at the same time, it could be pronounced G, our ace. Number one type of thing.
Yeah, I'm like, that's interesting you said that about O and E. Like it reminds me of the word love, right?
Yeah.
As O and E. And I guess those letters are interchangeable in that.
Yeah, home as it as well. So it's the place of a beginning. You start off in the morning at home, and you start off a relationship by falling in love.
But I've been asking myself this and trying to research, like, what does that word mean?
Love? It means you're crazy.
Okay. I thought, because that's what I'm concluding. It's like some type of drunkenness.
It's temporary insanity. Normally lasting approximately 4 years. In human and animal societies that are monogamous, supposedly, relationships basically are begun and explored and completed in about a 4-year period. But even in the animal world, with animals that are supposedly monogamous, especially with birds.
Yeah, some people have told me, like, oh, birds are monogamous, but I said, no, I've heard, they had affairs. And
they go shopping. They tell their spouse they're on their way to pick up worms. They take little detours along the way and end up in other nests.
Oh, man. I in this world today, like, if you tell a girl, like, because I know what marriage is all about, I see what it's all about, but if you tell a female that today, that they'll look at that as, oh, well, I can change this person, or... Yeah,
well, the love for women and love for men is totally different in its meaning. For women, they're looking for lifetime of romance, and that is basically the social engineering of cats. A whole bunch of cats living together are always sharing hugs and kisses and sleeping one on top of the other, and they can't seem to be alone. They almost always have a limb extended to touch another cat, and that's very much in the way that women are in their social engineering. Males are more task-oriented. They have a job to do, and usually it's with other males, and they also add to their spare time things like professional sports and stuff like that may not have the same interest in female. Although, because we're now getting a larger percentage of the population that is not woman but we men, there would be an attraction in those females to the kinds of things that are of interest to men.
Yeah, but what's the thing? Were men always like that, like obsessed with sex?
Well, that was their role. When they were inside a woman as part of the hermaphrodite at the beginning, they were no different than a drone in a beehive. They were there waiting for an opportunity to fertilize an egg. So it's not basically anything that's new. It's founded and attached to their ancient history. We are a task-specific part of women who was separated from women in order to go do the task, rather than have it self-contained within the woman to do the task. But by genetically engineering woman into we man, you can manufacture those traits. The question is, are there any real men and real women? And when I say real, I almost choke on the word, because there's nothing real. They are
original.
More original would be the better word.
Yeah. 'Cause you said like you said, I remember you saying like before in the past, like sex was not looked at as a pleasurable. Was it pleasurable for the men or
I think it's pleasurable for the men, but the whole design of human bodies is aimed at procreation, and as far as original women is concerned, it's kind of the pain you put up with so that you have gain later on. They're really sexual organs on men were not designed basically to make women happy. They were designed to fertilize. Therefore, a woman, an original woman, would not get the same sense of pleasure that a man would. As a matter of fact, many women have told me that it hurts. So it's the same thing in cats. I mean, the female cats that are being accosted by the males don't sound too happy with the experience. I can hear them screaming all over the place.
Yes. So we're like so far gone, like, because now you can see that women are actually getting pleasure, so their bodies have been probably a little altered.
Oh yeah. Well. Just look at the tennis stars of today. You know, they look more like middle linebackers.
That's what I was just see. I saw that the other day. I've seen a tennis player, and people would say, "Oh, wow, she looks like a man."
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, she really was like bred to be like that.
Yeah. Well, they have been bred to be like that.
Yeah. No.
And according to the head of the Olympic Committee, women's bodies will be equal to men's bodies within the next 10 years. So.
Yeah, I went out the other day with Dana. We went out and we're hanging out. And now, like, I haven't really, tell you the truth, I haven't really socialized like that. It was the first time I actually went out and socialized. And I look at, a second look at everything. I'm always, it's totally different now. I look at women. And
it is different. and it's heading in a direction that is planned. Mm-hmm. You know, the whole concept of making the persons you used to hate, tyrants, dictators, with an image of Stalin in your head or an image of Hitler in your head, you can understand why people right away want to dislike those persons. But when you're looking at Carla Bruni or someone like that, it's almost impossible for a male to feel dislike. Sarah Palin comes on the scene, and even those who are not Republican males in the Democratic Party had a hard time saying that she was a bad person.
But when you look at somebody
too good looking for that, so you're fighting you're fighting emotions all the time. Hitler is easy. He's a little guy who looks mean or looks self-serving, and that's easy for people to feel a sense of dislike for that person. But
and that name that Sarah Palin has, I came across the name, at least half of it. It's actually short for Palin Genesis, which means, I think, the second man, they said.
Well, pal, Palomino, a pal of mine. Laplanders are pal. Palestinian. So Palin basically, and that's her married name, of course, is saying the new one, my friend, my pal. And Serra is, of course, Madras. I have the Muslim university called a madrasa, and you'll find the word Serra in there.
So yeah, with that, one more question I want to ask about the zodiac, like, because you said the 12 around 1, if it's like a symbol of protection, why would they have? So what are they protecting with the 12 signs of the zodiac? What is it?
Well, it's protecting their plan from being discovered by people who are not part of any secret society. Whereas other people would be told that that's where you get your basic information is from astronomy, but in order to communicate it through an open network, it has to be done through astrology. And that's why their columns appear in the papers. You look at New York Times or Toronto Globe and Mail or something like that, and you say, if these are serious papers, why are they printing astrology in the paper? Well, the reason is simple. It's the same reason they print bridge, card games in the paper, or they print puzzles in the paper. It's because contained within that information is allegory and symbolism dealing with what's going on. Masons around the world must be told when to play certain tickets in the lottery. And the people who win that way don't win big prizes, $10, $5, up to $100, but it makes them feel like winners. So they know a certain set of numbers, and they play those on the days they're instructed to do that. And much of that information is found in astrology in the papers. So basically, astronomy is like the inner, I guess you could call it like esoteric type of thing, and astrology is like for everybody to see, but they don't know. They don't know the codes. Decipher a specific aspect.
So I'm just you cannot discount astrology because it's basically the basis
of benchmarking the project for mass distribution.
So, like, what have you found? What else have you found, like, in your research, your daily research?
The key points of the entire project is a going back in time.
Yeah, you were telling me with the Academy Awards they were doing that,
and that the whole process of going back in time is linked to the hermaphrodite. And it's basically understanding that human beings began their journey on Earth as hermaphrodites, and they would, if the plan continues to its conclusion, they will begin their journey to outer space as a new and improved hermaphrodite. The word they use is pseudo or phony hermaphrodite because it has much more in its ability to communicate back with head office than would have had a true hermaphrodite.
And I'm like learning, like, especially from that book at the top, but like it made me think. Is there any other books like that you know of
that are close in their allegory and symbolism to what is actually happening?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think other books, like dictionaries and encyclopedias and that kind of stuff, have all of the elements, but they're not told as a continuous story.
I came across, I actually bought one book called Novum Organicum, something like this, by Francis Bacon.
Yeah.
And he goes into, like, philosophy of nature. And
you have to understand that at different periods in the development of human beings, similar stories are written. The New Atlantis and that one you just mentioned by Francis Bacon, but are much more difficult for people in our time to grasp, with the exception maybe of advancements in learning and stuff like that you could see they were dealing with a problem. They're going to have to educate the masses. And how are they going to compensate for that education, for giving out what might have been considered too much information, especially to women? They even, when they wrote dictionaries in the 1800s, made comments about the fact that the dictionary had to be rewritten because down the road they would be a lot more people able to read than the priests of the time, and the biggest danger is that women would have to be educated.
So yeah, there's
Homer and Plato and all of those things. They're all each in their own time.
Yeah.
Significant.
Yeah, and I learned from all those books. They all give me a better insight. So, like I purchased another book. It was like all of Shakespeare's works.
Yeah, all of anything called a classic has a bitch in it. Because between the two C's of the word classic is the word lassie. And Lassie is a female dog known to many people on TV as having had puppies. Yeah. So the name for a female dog is bitch. And
bitch, if you break down the word, you only have 13. You have the it, and you have the K.
Yeah, and you have an itch.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
And you have basically the word shit in there, phonetically scrambled, because SH or CH basically means the same thing.
Yeah, you can do that. You'll take a word, Glenn, and like beat it up and take everything you can out of it. You squeeze every meaning.
That's how they hide it. The more it approaches the actual word, the less important it is. Yeah. The more scrambled and requiring the ability to decode, the more important it is.
Because I've noticed too, when looking back in like the languages of other civilizations, they'll have certain letters, characters that are the same as ours.
Yeah.
And basically, I guess it's like all these characters that just got brought back down and reformatted. In
many cases, you had a character in an ancient language that at one stage of the game became discontinued and doesn't appear in modern language. However, there were other groups using those ancient languages at the time who decided not to discontinue the character when the original user of it did, and they brought it down. And I think the letter Q is a good example of that.
Yeah, the letter Q is almost the same as the symbol on, they call it. You know, when you press on an electron, that's basically is the spear going into the egg, right?
Yeah, it's the genetic engineer opening up the egg to begin the process of changing what's inside to what is required for the task of the future slave.
And that's right there is Desdemona, these pictographs that tell the story.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing it in movies and I'm understanding the Desdemona. It's a matter of almost having an imagination and being able to describe a picture to yourself, I guess.
It's interesting that it has Mona in it, the same thing as Mona Lisa.
Yeah. And O and U, O is interchangeable. You can make it E or U.
Yeah, and they both basically are talking about secrets. Desdemona is talking about the secret promulgated by Iago to Othello about her, whereas in Mona Lisa, she's basically sitting back, grinning, saying, I have a secret. And what is the secret? The secret is basically that she's pregnant and she's a man.
And that's another thing, too, that with the Aries, they have secret Aries, so secretary. But yeah, with that book, Yadatopa, it really made me think when he said, like, you'll try to describe, you can try to, like, what's inside of you, or, you know, in the spine is what you could say is truth or reality. But even using these words, you're putting yourself back in a box because these languages created by the word master.
They were all done by the same people, 7,000 by now, different languages and dialects created so they could be all deciphered by one group phonetically. And that's why they called them the Phoenicians. So the Phoenicians means cane on the phone. The builder on the phone.
But see, like these words, like, so ultimate reality is like, it's something you can't even put into words then.
It's not in any of the language they've given us. The only true language
would be like clicking, or like we'd have to start all over again.
Language would have been close, and so would someone who would only use vowels.
Wow.
Because vowel is you turn the V sideways, it makes cow. So it's the language of the sea cow and the language of the one who raised a Neanderthaler. So vowels are linked more to Neanderthalers, while consonants are linked more to Homo habilis. The ants who go about doing their work.
Oh.
The second sons of the ants.
So Homo habilis is more like an ant-like creature, and Neanderthal, they couldn't move around.
Yeah, he's more Triphibian. His background is aquatic to some extent, and land animal. So he's basically saying that he came out of the sea first. But you have to be careful because the word sea in French is mère, and mère is also the word for mother. Yeah. And it is the first letters in the word shit. Merde. Merde alors, dit la comtesse. And when they say mum's the word, well, you're supposed to say shh. Well, what word starts with shh?
Shit.
The word it.
Yep.
And it is a non-gender person. So it's shit. So it's linked to coprolites. Take a turd, you extract the DNA, and you bring it back to life, as they did with the Grimaldi family.
Yeah, and I've been thinking like these control mechanisms that I never, at least before talking to you, I never really pondered it, like thinking about like time, like how that's used as a control mechanism on us, because they are the bosses. They live in eternity in a sense, like they don't live under the concept of time, and we do. But time is just us trying to measure eternity.
You cannot have a modern society without putting everybody on a clock, so that some people get up and some people go to work and some people are at work and some people are doing a certain shift. All of those things require a movement at a precise moment so that you don't get the scramble of everybody running into each other.
And it's funny when you look at it, like when you switch the letters, time is just a minute. Yeah. So it's just matter moving in space. It's just, that's all it is.
And if you want to find out who the most important company in the world would be, you look for Time.
Time Warner?
Yeah. AOL, Time Warner. AOL comes from Polaris.
Oh, wow.
Time is, you know where it comes from. Yeah. It, me. And Warner turn the W around and make it Mar, and you're getting damn close to merde there, because the R and D in doctor are interchangeable. So MERDE is shit in French. So they are responsible for all the shit we're living. They're basically symbolized in the story of Jesus as the crown of thorns. They're coming at you from multiple directions, and all of it is aimed at your head, and it's painful and unreal, untrue. But it comes from winding vines from a rose bush, so that you got all of these sharp needles sticking into your head. And of course, the rose comes from the word for trick.
Ruse, yeah, and it says that. O and U. It goes that O and E again.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a new beginning. It's a start.
Yeah. Oh. Wow.
Same thing with the horse.
Mm-hmm.
A new way of moving the people forward. A new vehicle.
Wow. And age, they have A and E. Age is that's the
A and E as opposed to O and E fits at the end.
Whoa.
It's in my name, Kealey.
Yeah.
Which basically means the end time oil. The secret oil mechanism, the oil of life. And the oil of life is basically stem cells.
Crazy. That's crazy. I don't know. That's crazy. Like say, like all life. If some some cataclysmic event happened and everything died, like people from like say this type of hypothetically speaking, like another life from other planet could just come here, go into the soil and find DNA and just start life again.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, the wife of the pirate in the cartoons is called Original Live Oil, olive oil.
Yeah, Popeye. Wow, man.
And the word Popeye is Pope Ye. So Pope E-Y, Y-E. And that's a 3-in-1 on the plan. Hermaphrodite, pseudo-hermaphrodite. And Pope, of course, in French is called Pape. And Pape is a nipple in the language of English. P-A-P. So it means we're suckers.
Yep. We're suckers, man. Wow. Damn.
We're bred to be suckers. And that's the sign of the swastika. Mm-hmm. On one side it blows, on the other side it sucks.
Yeah.
Depending which side of the fan you're standing on.
And I guess that's where they get the term, like people who follow celebrities, they call them fans.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
They get sucked into it.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Everything and every word you can imagine in English is designed to fool.
Yeah, it's like your thoughts. You can't even think, like, I don't know.
Same thing
thoughts.
with the computer. No. They let you know on the telephone, let your fingers do the walking, but in fact, on a computer, it's let your fingers do the talking. Your fingers are telling the controllers all that is in your head. Yeah. At any moment in time, as you type, you're telling them, this is what I'm thinking about. This is what I like. This is what I dislike. By ordering stuff, they know what kind of books you read, what kind of music you listen to, and they can basically make your profile, which has the O and E in it.
Yeah.
So we're in a mess. There's no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. And if we're going to change it, we have to find the tools, and the tools the system uses against us are as good tools as you can find. So if we can use their tools against them, then maybe we can come to a point in time where rather than mutual destruction, which is always an option, that we can turn to a mutual understanding that none of us are winners in this game.
Yeah, I can tell them. I have no problem telling Neanderthal, like, I appreciate, because they did an excellent job with human in the beginning. Yeah. But ever since they looked to serve themselves,
they were self-serving because they didn't like themselves. Yeah. And if we can help them in telling them that they have reasons to like themselves, they don't need to be control freaks. Yeah. And it would be a valuable addition to the knowledge of the world if they came back out of the closet and into society, and help us prevent the computers from doing what they have planned in the short run, and in the long run work together with human beings to advance the cause of eternity that is basically in the hands of creation, not creator.
And another thing too, like, but for us to communicate with them, like, they don't. I think I've heard you mention that they don't. They communicate like on a cellular level, like mental.
Yes.
So how could we communicate?
Well, we are already doing it
with
when
ourselves,
we're talking about hair.
Yeah.
That's on a sensory level. So all we need to do is be informed of the different bands of communication that we are not educated in. We've been told about AM and FM and all of the TV band signals, but the science community has not given us the bandwidth for cellular communications, which I have absolutely no doubt exists because I live in that world, except I'm not a scientist, so I know the outcome is real. I don't know the exact numbers that would have to be dialed for a person to be able to go there on demand.
So yeah, like, you had, like, from like your research, you get to see an idea of what these higher sciences that they have their people study into.
Whatever we know
is levels higher.
Is so ridiculous compared to even our own spies. They are living in a world that is at least 25 years, if not longer.
I thought it was 50.
Yeah. So they live in a world of communication technology that we don't have access to. But the Moho people, their communications would have to be so far advanced that even if we stood in front of a machine that does the communications, we wouldn't recognize it as such. Yeah. You got to remember that if they made Cro-Magnon, and they did, in 40,000 BC, that was a genetic engineering job, which cannot be done unless there's a computer present. So whether the computer was all their heads tied together or a separate machine at the time is basically a moot point. They were able to do the calculations artificially that would bring the process of genetic engineering forward, or I wouldn't be here, or anybody else for that matter. But Cro-Magnon was the first man-made man. And I apparently have the original DNA.
So that's interesting with like DNA too. When you look at animals, like when animals want to breed, they look for somebody with the best DNA, right? Is that what? So that's almost like people would look at that as like eugenics type of thing. Like and that's what but we don't, and that's why I guess they do call us common. I've been told, that we're called commoners because we breed in common. We don't look for the best DNA.
Maybe the way we look for it is different than just simply stating I'm looking for the best DNA. But for most people, what they're doing is looking for the best DNA in an indirect manner, which is available to them. And you can see the concept of that by if a woman is looking for someone who will be a great father to the children she wants to have, and basically needs a male to get it started, but not to live with, she interprets her actions as looking at men's rear ends, looking at their buns, but in fact what she's doing is indirectly trying to find the lump in the pocket of the pant that has the wallet in it.
That's modern women, right? That's the modern...
And if they can see that the person has in one way or another accumulated a lot of money over time, that will make her journey as a mother easier than it would if she was on welfare, for example. So
that's going to make me a lonely person because I'm not really in this world today. Oh, man. Because I'll tell women, I'll tell them, hey, I don't have money and I'm not looking to get married. And as soon as you get, like, even, like, a little deeper into things, like, I ask them, like, what, don't you question what the meaning of life is? And it just turns them off. And how could you not want to, how could you go through life and just...
Well, for every person on this earth, there is out there a person, or I would suggest 12 persons, that, and in the end, you could describe as soulmates or DNA mates. And it's just a matter of continuing to hold on to your own beliefs because you don't want to become somebody you're not. And wait and recognize the opportunities when they come up. But they will come up in time. If that's your search, you'll find the people you're looking for.
Is that what you did? You found you said you found like hundreds of
what I found was that what I was looking for indirectly, and I believed resided in other people, was in fact residing in me. But I didn't know that at the beginning, and I wouldn't have known it had I not gone through the experiences that I did. So even in failure, there is lessons to be learned and progress to be made. So I married one woman and lived with her for 24 years. I then lived with another woman for 4 years and married a second woman and lived with her for 4 years. So those 32 years of marriage were not at any time, in my view, a complete disaster. They were just dragging me away from what my real purpose in life was, which is to observe, analyze, and conclude. And I would not know that I'm there today had I not had the experiences of having been married or with women.
So when you were looking for other women, were you looking like for a piece of yourself and them?
I was programmed, and that whole thing, I don't know how much of it I've told you over the telephone, but I was programmed to go on a search
for the breast
for a specific woman.
Yeah.
And therefore, along the way, met thousands of women, not knowing whether or not they were the specific woman I was looking for. And when I thought I might be there but didn't completely have the clues clearly in front of me, I made decisions that today I wouldn't make. But at no time could I consider those decisions to have been a loss in any sense of the word. They were just education in a different way than I was looking for, if that means anything. So.
Yeah, something that you said too about that, and I noticed that with me, like you said that when you were told like that the woman that you were looking for, she would blurt out things.
Yeah, and she did.
But I see that some people who blurt out things, and to me it's like, what did you just say? And they don't even realize.
And you know, one of the reasons for going to bed with a woman is that many people speak in their sleep. So a blurt could very well be described as sleep talk. And so you're always on the lookout. Is this the way the communications is going to happen that I've been told to seek? And so it certainly indirectly was part of my real search. But in the end, the programming that I was on, I suspect, was not a program that I myself would have chosen. Maybe I would have chosen the same journey. That was an interesting journey, looking for a specific breast. Because that wasn't a tough part of the job, just embarrassing at times.
Yeah.
But had I known from the beginning what the purpose was, I would have got there much faster and saved a lot of time along the way. So, but maybe creation didn't want me to save time. Maybe creation wanted me to experience things that if I knew the direct path, I would never have experienced.
I was talking with a friend of mine. He knows nothing about this stuff, and I was mentioning the medulla, and he just said he said, "Oh, you mean the medulla, Neanderthal?" Like, did they teach that in school?
Not that I know of.
I get off and thought, wow, because I couldn't believe that he even would associate those two together, Neanderthal and medulla.
Well, when I started using the word troglodyte, most people I spoke to had no idea what I was talking about. Even librarians. Because I'd go to libraries and say, have you got any old dictionaries? And librarians would say, well, we have this, that, and the other thing. I said, well, can I have a look? Because I know how to define an old dictionary depending on the definition it gives for the word troglodyte. And the librarian would say, "What's that?"
And you'd probably just look at it like, "Wow."
And if you look in the dictionary and it said a little bird, well, you knew it was modern.
Wow.
But if it said cave dweller, then you knew it was an old book.
Yeah, there's a guy, George Orwell. He's the one that said that they were shrinking the dictionaries, basically, and taking. Do you think that he was? Because he.
Or anybody who's known today.
Yeah.
From the past has a role to play in brainwashing.
Because I see that. Because he tells people truth to a certain extent. Like he'll tell. But I think because if you look at the conspiracy world, he's hailed as like a hero.
Yeah. Haven't you seen that in most of the people?
Yeah.
Who are in that world?
Yeah.
I'm in the conspiracy world because I looked at the word conspiracy in the dictionary and found that that's what I live, in a world surrounded by conspiracy. Mine is not a theory. Mine is a premise. A theory comes from the word Troy, and Troy is their code word for a hidden insider. So, but mine is a premise. It basically means a new mass or a new miss or a new mess is in its beginning stage. That's why it's pre-miss, pre-mass. And mass becomes Sam, if you read it from the other side, Uncle Sam. So you have all the hints within that stuff. I'm saying that in order to know where you're going in the future, you must know where you've been in the past.
Exactly. And
unless you do that, unless you have that knowledge, you're in a rowboat in the middle of the ocean with no idea in which direction England is, or U.S. is, or Canada is, if that's where you're trying to get. And therefore, you must have a premise on which you build your book of life. Not anybody else's book of life, your own. And with the premise that I've deciphered, I'm comfortable starting each day knowing where I came from, and therefore trying to plan for where I'm going.
And that's what my problem is right now. Like, I'm trying to just find out where I came from, and it's going to take a while. Like,
sure.
And because when I say find myself, like, I don't just mean like know like how I act, my behavior. I'm talking about like creation of my genes to what I really was. And it may take a while. That's what I'm really trying.
And for that to happen, for you to find yourself, you have to have seen the benchmarks along the way. And to see the benchmarks takes a certain journey. And that's why they say life begins at 40. Because by 40, you've made the same journey a number of times. And you've had a chance to look at all of the evidence from different points of view, and therefore are ready to make decisions about you and your place in life and what's it all about, Alfie.
Yeah. Can't wait till I get to that age. I hope I get.
You will get there, and you may even get there sooner than 40. Any number given has to be an average or a medium, so some obviously come earlier, and others, like me, came later.
Well, can't wait.
Yeah. Well, I have to get on and do other things.
How were your visitors that you said came by?
We had a visitor who left yesterday We have another visitor who arrived Sunday. I have a visitor from Massachusetts who is supposedly to be here the first or second week in August. There's Dana and you and other people who are basically doing what you can to make that happen. I suspect that there's anywhere between 5 and 30 people who will arrive here at one time or another this year.
I hope. I want to meet some of those people too. Yeah, we could probably all brainstorm or something.
They're all different, and they all come at it from a different perspective, and that's a good thing because you don't need carbon copies of the same people who think in exactly the same way. Each of us has a specific task to accomplish within this critical mass, and therefore hopefully are different, and hopefully with different genders and different races along the way. I got to go. The phone's ringing.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Bye for now.
Bye.